Music still echoes beneath the vaulted ceiling when Queen Regent Merelda lifts the moonstone crown and places it into Evelyn Vale's shaking hands. Aurelia does not breathe. Silver torchlight crawls across the black marble floor of Blackmere Keep. Wolves line both sides of the royal hall in ceremonial armor, silent now except for the scrape of someone lowering to one knee beside the throne dais. Not for her. For Evelyn. The younger sister's white gown catches the candlelight like frost over river water. Her fingers tremble beneath the weight of the crown. She looks toward Aurelia once, quickly, as if the sight burns. Then Cassian Thorne speaks. The future Luna of Blackmere stands before you. The hall answers with fists against armor. Aurelia hears the sound inside her ribs. Cassian remains above her on the obsidian platform, broad shoulders wrapped in dark ceremonial fur, one hand resting against the carved arm of the Alpha throne. The gold sigil across his chest glints beside the firelight. He looks carved from the same stone as the fortress itself. Cold. Still. Unreachable. 3 nights ago his mouth pressed against hers hard enough to bruise. Now royal guards stand between them. Aurelia keeps her chin lifted anyway. The scent of cedar smoke and molten wax thickens around her as nobles avoid her eyes. Some stare too long at her empty hands. Others glance toward her stomach before looking away again. The royal healer stands beside the throne with both hands hidden inside his sleeves. Coward. Cassian's gaze finally lowers to her. The bond was unstable from the beginning. No one moves. The word spreads slowly through the hall, heavier than shouting. Aurelia feels Evelyn flinch before she even turns toward her sister. Cassian, Evelyn says under her breath. Too soft. Too late. The Alpha King does not look at the woman wearing his future queen's crown. His attention stays fixed on Aurelia as though forcing himself not to blink. Blackmere cannot risk uncertainty beside the throne. Uncertainty. Not her name. Aurelia's nails press crescents into her palms. Beneath the fitted silver fabric around her waist, a sudden sharp pulse rolls low through her body. Not pain. Movement. Her breath catches once. Only once. The chandeliers above the royal hall flicker. A few heads lift toward the ceiling. Cassian notices. His eyes narrow slightly. Aurelia presses one hand against the folds of her gown before anyone else can see the reaction. Warmth spreads beneath her skin immediately, unnatural and alive, like another heartbeat answering hers from somewhere deeper. The torches nearest the throne crackle silver for half a second. Then settle. Silence folds tighter across the room. Queen Regent Merelda steps forward first, composed as winter stone. The matter is finished. Finished, Aurelia looks at the woman who spent years teaching her how to stand beside a king without lowering her eyes. Now Merelda cannot hold her gaze for more than a heartbeat. That hurts more than Cassian's voice. Around the hall, whispers begin threading between the noble houses. Barren. Unfit. Weak blood. The words never rise above murmurs, but Aurelia hears every one of them. Evelyn steps down from the dais suddenly, crown trembling slightly against her pale hair. You should let her rest. Aurelia turns toward her sister slowly. Evelyn's face has gone white beneath the torchlight. Her lips part once, close again. The moonstone crown sits on her head like stolen silver. Not triumph. Burden. That almost makes it worse. You knew, Aurelia says quietly. Evelyn stills. Behind them, armor shifts. Cassian descends one step from the throne platform. Aurelia. The sound of her name and his voice nearly splits something open inside her chest. Nearly. Another pulse rolls through her body. Harder this time. A goblet near the edge of the feast table rattles sharply against the wood. Then another. Several wolves straighten at once. The air changes. The firelight along the stone walls bends inward toward Aurelia as though drawn by breath. Cassian's expression tightens instantly. Not confusion. Recognition. The royal healer lowers his eyes to the floor. And suddenly Aurelia understands. Not all of it. Enough. Enough to know the silence around her has shape. Enough to know this did not begin tonight. Merelda takes one measured step forward. Leave the hall. Not a request. A command issued too quickly. Aurelia looks from the Queen Regent to the healer. Then to Cassian. No one denies it. The realization settles colder than grief. They know. Maybe not everything. But enough to stand there while her life is cut apart in front of the entire kingdom. Cassian moves toward her at last, slow and deliberate, as if approaching something dangerous. Aurelia, listen to me carefully. The hall disappears behind the pounding inside her ears. He reaches for her wrist. She steps back before he touches her. That movement ripples harder through the room than shouting would have. The nearest torch erupts silver. Flames lash high against the stone columns. Gasps tear across the hall. Aurelia stares at the fire. The color reflects in her eyes like moonlight sinking beneath water. And beneath her hand. Another movement. Stronger now. Alive, Cassian sees exactly where her hand rests. Everything in his face stops. The hall goes silent enough for Aurelia to hear the banners shifting overhead. No one speaks. No one breathes. Then, somewhere beyond the fortress walls of Blackmere Keep, the ancient warning bells begin ringing across the northern towers. The warning bells keep ringing. Not the ceremonial bells from the lower towers. The old iron ones. The kind Blackmere only uses when borders fail. Every strike drags through the fortress stones hard enough to vibrate beneath Aurelia's shoes. Wolves in the royal hall glance toward the northern windows. Several guards reach instinctively for weapons they are forbidden to draw inside the throne chamber. Cassian does not move. His eyes remain fixed on Aurelia's hand against her stomach. The silver fire climbing the nearest column snaps violently again. Merelda steps forward first. Clear the hall. No one obeys fast enough. Now. Armor crashes against marble as nobles begin backing away from the throne dais. Some stare openly at Aurelia now. Not with pity anymore. Calculation. The royal healer retreats so quickly his sleeve catches a goblet and sends wine spilling across the feast tablecloth like blood spreading through snow. Aurelia watches him go. Coward twice over. Another bell tolls. Then another. Farther away this time. Answering. Cassian descends the remaining steps from the throne platform slowly, gaze never leaving her. Who else knows? The question lands sharp enough to split the room again. Not are you hurt? Not is it true? Aurelia almost smiles. Almost. No one, she says. The chandeliers flicker. Cassian stops an arm's length away. Heat rolls from him beneath cedar smoke and winter fur, familiar enough to make her chest tighten against her will. His jaw shifts once before he speaks again. That bell came from Frostmere's outer watchtowers. And they only ring when the forest answers back. Silence behind him. Evelyn removes the moonstone crown with trembling fingers. The gems clatter softly against the throne platform as she sets it down too fast. Nobody looks at her. For the first time in her life, Aurelia almost pities her sister. Then Merelda reaches the center of the hall. The Queen Regent's expression has changed. No royal calm remains now. Only hard calculation behind pale eyes sharpened by fear she refuses to show. You will come with me, she tells Aurelia. Cassian's head turns slightly. No. One word. Enough to freeze every guard in place. Merelda looks at him carefully. This cannot leave Blackmere Keep. It already has. The bells answer him again. Closer. Aurelia feels the sound low in her spine beneath the strange pulse inside her body. The movement there grows stronger with every strike, not frantic. Responsive. As though listening. The realization sends cold through her limbs. Cassian notices the shift in her face immediately. What is it? A sharp crack interrupts him. One of the northern windows fractures straight down the center. Every wolf in the hall turns. Ice blooms suddenly across the black glass in branching silver patterns too fast to follow. Frost spreads over stone walls. Torch flames bend sideways toward the broken window as though pulled by breath from outside. No wind enters. Nothing visible waits beyond the dark cliffs surrounding Blackmere. But something is there. Watching. Aurelia steps backward before she realizes she's moving. The thing beneath her heartbeat moves too. The cracked window explodes inward. Gasps tear across the hall as shards scatter over marble. Guards surge forward instantly, weapons drawn now despite protocol. Several wolves bare their teeth toward the darkness outside. Nothing enters, only snow. Soft flakes drift through the shattered opening and dissolve before touching the floor. Then the smell reaches them. White cedar. Ancient. Wrong. The oldest guard in the hall drops to one knee immediately. Not to Cassian. To Aurelia. Merelda goes pale. Get her below the keep, the Queen Regent says sharply. The kneeling guard does not move. Neither do the others. Aurelia sees it happen slowly across the room. Confusion first. Then instinct overtaking discipline. Several wolves lower their eyes from her face without understanding why. Cassian sees that too. And something dangerous hardens behind his expression. Not fear. Possession. Merelda notices instantly. Cassian. She stays under my protection. She is the reason those bells are ringing. She is carrying the reason. The room stills. Aurelia feels every gaze slam into her at once. Evelyn's hand flies to her mouth. The last fragile piece of silence inside the hall shatters completely. Merelda crosses the distance toward Cassian in 3 fast steps. You speak before the court without proof? You already had proof. The Queen Regent stops. That pause tells Aurelia more than any confession could. The royal healer suddenly turns toward the side exit. Cassian's voice cuts through the hall without rising. Stop him. 2 guards seize the healer before he reaches the archway. The older man struggles once before collapsing against their grip, face slick with sweat. You lied to the throne, Cassian says. The healer cannot look at Aurelia. She could not carry a wolf heir, he whispers. Merelda closes her eyes briefly. There it is. Not barren. Never barren. The pulse beneath Aurelia's hand strikes hard enough to bend the nearby torch flames silver again. The healer stares at her stomach in horror now. That bloodline should have died with the Western courts. No one in the hall speaks after that. The bells continue outside. One after another. Like something waking beneath the mountains. Cassian steps toward Aurelia again, slower this time. Careful now. As if approaching fire. What bloodline? He asks. The healer's lips part. Then every torch in the throne hall extinguishes at once. Darkness crashes over Blackmere Keep. Gasps echo through the chamber. For one suspended second, Aurelia hears nothing except breathing and the pounding beneath her ribs. Then silver light unfurls softly through the dark. Not from the walls. From beneath her skin. The glow spills faintly through the fabric beneath her hand. And somewhere far beyond the northern cliffs, something enormous answers with a roar that does not belong to any wolf alive. The dreams spread before dawn. Not screams. Not commands. Just the same image slipping quietly through sleeping minds across Blackmere, Vale Dorn, and the frost settlements beyond Alarian Hollow. A woman standing beneath silver trees with one hand over her stomach while snow falls around her without touching the ground. By morning, nobody speaks about it openly. They lower their voices instead. In Vale Dorn, the cathedral district still smolders beneath rainwater and ash. Stone arches lean crooked against empty streets where market lanterns once burned through the night. Silver roots remain tangled through the shattered sanctuary floor, pale beneath puddles darkened by soot. No one enters after sunset now. Cassian stands alone inside the ruined nave while water drips steadily through the broken ceiling above him. The throne mark carved into his armor has been scraped clean. Only rough metal remains. He looks toward the place Aurelia disappeared. Nothing waits there anymore. Not light. Not fire. Only silence heavy enough to feel physical. A soldier stops near the cathedral entrance but does not cross inside. The southern patrols returned. Cassian does not answer. The council requests your presence in Blackmere. Still nothing. The soldier shifts uneasily before lowering his eyes. They want terms prepared before the western gates open again. Again. The word hangs inside the ruined cathedral. Cassian closes his hand slowly around the silver chain wrapped once around his palm. Aurelia's. The clasp snapped during the collapse. One broken edge dug so deeply into his skin that dried blood still stains the metal. He releases it. Tell the council I won't return tonight. The soldier hesitates. Then leaves without another word. Rain continues falling through the shattered roof. Cassian remains where he is long after the footsteps disappear. Back in Blackmere Keep, servants strip the great hall in silence. The moonstone crown rests abandoned across the banquet table beneath white cloths and overturned goblets nobody bothered clearing completely. Melted wax hardens along the black marble floor where silver fire once climbed the columns. Evelyn stands near the broken northern window with both hands pressed tightly against the stone ledge. Snow blows through the fractured opening and dissolves against her sleeves. She has not worn the crown again. Behind her, Queen Regent Merelda sits alone at the end of the empty royal table. Age settles visibly through her posture now, pulling downward at the sharp lines she spent years holding upright. Neither woman speaks for a long time. The bells outside stopped before dawn. That silence feels worse. Evelyn finally turns toward the throne dais. The Alpha throne remains empty. She looks at it the way someone looks at a grave they helped dig. You knew she would leave, she says quietly. Merelda's fingers tighten once around the stem of her untouched goblet. I knew she would survive. The answer settles heavily between them. Evelyn's mouth parts slightly as though another question rises behind it. Then closes again. Outside the keep, wolves patrol the Frostmere roads in pairs now. No one travels alone anymore. The forests remain open but changed. Snow gathers where no clouds pass overhead. Silver flowers push through frozen earth beside abandoned shrines. And every few nights, someone wakes with traces of dirt beneath their fingernails after dreaming of white trees. Aurelia watches the northern mountains from the upper balcony of the stone house overlooking the river gorge. Mist coils slowly through the cliffs below. The child shifts beneath her ribs. Not violently anymore. Aware. A folded wolf fur cloak rests untouched across the wooden chair beside the doorway. Dark gray. Heavy enough for Blackmere winters. Cassian left it behind in the cathedral. She should have thrown it away before dawn. Instead it stays exactly where he abandoned it. The silence around her feels different now than it did inside the throne hall. Not smaller. Just clearer. Below the balcony, silver branches move softly in the river wind. The trees surrounding the house stand taller every morning although nobody sees them grow. Aurelia closes one hand against the cold stone railing. In the distance, wolves howl somewhere beyond the cliffs. Not hunting. Calling. The sound carries across the gorge before fading back into the mountains. Her eyes lower toward the curve beneath her hand. For a moment, the memory returns sharp enough to taste. Blackmere's royal hall. Torchlight. Cassian standing above her while another woman wore the crown meant for his queen. Only now the memory no longer ends there. Now she remembers the look on his face after he saw her hand against her stomach. Not duty. Not power. The realization lands quietly. Too late to change anything. Wind moves through the balcony behind her, carrying cedar smoke from the untouched cloak near the doorway. Aurelia does not turn toward it. Below, river water slips black and cold through the gorge while snow drifts steadily between the silver trees without ever settling on the ground.